Let's do this, because you don't know when you're going to get this opportunity again.
Probably been the most closed off to that of any of the brothers for a long time.
I couldn't understand it for the longest time. It bothered me. It really hurt me.
I think you get back to realizing is how important family is.
Welcome to the Alex Perry on Fire podcast. And today is an extremely special episode because we've had two of my brothers on the podcast, but not all three, and certainly not all three at one time. Some people don't even know that we have a third/fourth brother, but we do, and he's special. And so welcome, Matt Perry, to the Alex Perry on Fire podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I joke around, but it is. I don't think we'd be in this room. I know we wouldn't be in this room. I know we wouldn't be in the mindset we're in. I know we wouldn't be open to certain things without some trust in each other, some gain trust in each other, right? You're not going to go on camera. You're not going to put yourself in this space unless we all kind of feel comfortable that we can handle it. And so I think it's a testament to all of us and some real growth over the year to say, let's do this, because you don't know when you're going to get this opportunity again. So I'm going to come right at you. And it's time to go right at Matt. In the nicest way. What do you think you've learned from either listening to me on the podcast, mom and dad on the podcast, each brother on the podcast?
I think it's being open to growth, right? And I've seen a ton of it over the last few years with you, with Elliott, with Dom, with our parents, et cetera. And I've probably been the most closed off to that of any of the brothers for a long, long time. Part of that just goes into family background, my previous marriage, all kinds of other stuff. But I think seeing that and how you guys have developed from that positively has probably made me more open to it. And I'm older, right? I'm 5 years older than you, 6 years older than you. And the fact that you guys can do it, I think, has made me be more willing to go down that road.
I love that. And I think that if I were going to say, like, when it first came out, and I think the first episode Elliott and I did, which was very, okay, we're going to air family history. What was your initial thought when you listened to that?
I mean, I think and you guys have gone through it a little bit, especially with our mother, like, that's not how I grew up, right? Feelings were held internally. Like, you didn't show emotion. Like, we didn't hug our parents. Like, I still struggle with, like, hugging my kids. But I think it showed a willingness and a vulnerability. And I've taken that not on a podcast, but with my kids to actually say, like, it was weird for us to say, I love you as kids. I now say, I love you to my kids all the time. Or at least my older one. The younger one, I'm still working on it. But that's all personality stuff. But I think, for me, it was just showing that vulnerability and being willing to open up and be different.
Yeah, and I thank you. And I would say it's like that's an extreme compliment. I appreciate it. And I guess I'd ask that question is like, how is it nice to say I love you to your kid?
Yeah, I think it takes I think it's like anything else. Normally getting into a routine of anything takes multiple weeks of doing the same thing over and over to break old habits. But once you do, then it becomes almost weird when you're not doing it, right? And then you feel bad that you haven't said it. And I think, same thing with the girlfriend that I've had, who you guys know for multiple years. Like, I didn't say I love you to my ex-wife, and it was a rough marriage for a long, long time, and it sucked. And then being able to say that, it just brings out emotions that you didn't even realize you had anymore to an extent. And I've loved that growth.
Yeah. And I would say, I'm not saying you get a free pass, but that wasn't showed to any of us here. And I don't want to sit here and say, like, we don't have our parents on here, so it's not fair to go to that space, but it's not something we heard.
Right.
So it wasn't comfortable. Or it wasn't something that was second nature to us to say that.
It's actually weakness.
Well, go into that when they say that.
We were raised to believe that you don't have to say I love you every 2 seconds. The people that say that, it's actually, is it genuine? Is it authentic? And you actually it was the opposite. You almost judged people who said it too often. And if you were sharing it, it was a weakness. So that was incredibly vulnerable of Matt to even say it. But it's a dynamic shift, and it comes from being vulnerable and learning and being open to different things.
And I think you got to remember we all went away to boarding school at age 12, right? Or you guys might have been, I can't remember what age you guys were. I was 12. Like, you didn't go and walk around saying I love you to people. Like, you didn't get on the phone with your parents, which back then was like a phone on a wall, and want to be heard saying I love you, and like being soft and weak when you're in a, house of 50 kids for all boys from grade 8 to grade 12. Like, that just wasn't normal.
Yeah, no, for sure. Actually, that's a good point. All of us went to boarding school 12, 12, 13, 13, right? Or somewhere around there. And we've talked about it on the show. It shapes you, right? Like, we can't go back in time, but it certainly shapes you.
Yeah.
I think fair to ask Dom a similar question, because you said it right away. How about how you've parented? What do you think from the podcast you've learned where you said, ooh, maybe this is a pattern I'm repeating with my daughter, and I've learned it from being more open?
Yeah, it's a fair question. That's a big question. I think first and foremost, DNA and genetics are strong. They're powerful. And the way you've been wired for 30 plus years, 40 plus years at this point is probably hard to break. And so the biggest thing I think I'm trying to break, and probably sometimes successfully and sometimes not successfully, if I'm being honest, is when we grew up, we were on a schedule, from whether that's because of school, whether that's because of vacation, but from 7 a.m. till 10 p.m, things were planned. We did this. And so I don't know how to relax, or just be down and be okay relaxing. And I find myself sometimes doing that with Reese, of like, what's next, or where are you going, or what's happening, and learning that, okay, just because I was that way or it worked for me doesn't mean that's always the right thing. And it's okay to have a little bit of relaxation or downtime. In fact, it's probably good, and you need it to recharge. And so it's been hard to try and do that personally. It's even harder when you see yourself doing it to your own child.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. So do you find yourself micromanaging Reese, and do you, in real time, can you see that? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I don't think I micromanage her at all. And she's 15 and she's going to do her own thing. And I'm actually excited about that and want to give her some of that freedom to learn and even fail in some ways. But I find myself a lot of times just trying to say, what are you doing? Or being active defines results sometimes. And instead of, no, it's okay for a 15-year-old to just chill a little bit, especially as hard as she works in what she does.
Yeah, and look, I'm not saying I'm pushing you, but if I would say it's like a little bit of a control thing, right? So you're like, look,
Sure.
I kind of want to be in control. And what I would tell you as a father, well, it's human, right? Like a dad's going to want to know what their 15-year-old daughter's doing. So it is that push and pull, right?
Sure.
And it's kind of what Matt said. You almost have to get uncomfortable in that space, because it's pretty uncomfortable. So it's almost, you could almost recognize the idea that you're breaking the pattern when something feels really off.
Yeah. And you got to fix yourself before you can fix someone else. And so it's hard to try and break it for yourself first and foremost.
Yeah. And I think seeing it first is a
For
good,
sure.
Elliott,
Oh, to me.
to you,
He's
my
been
brother.
waiting patiently.
No.
You've been on the podcast a lot of times, but I guess what would you say because we have the brothers here, do you look at Dom and Matt's kids, which would be your nephews and niece,
Correct.
2 nephews, a niece,
We know their ages.
We do.
Elliott,
15 for Reese, 13 for Judd, 16 for Mason.
Well done.
boom.
Sorry. Very proud of myself.
Did you practice that?
No,
on the fly.
On the
I'm proud of you
fly.
too. I think Alex asked you because he wasn't quite
No,
sure
no,
himself.
no. Yeah, exactly. What do you think you've learned, or I don't want to say learned, but what is it, something that you're like, okay, I feel like from being in this space now that you can see different things that you'd like to do with their kids from an uncle standpoint?
Well, I think it's spending more time and connecting. I think connection's a big piece. We didn't necessarily have grandparents growing up that lived in the same city. And so we never experienced a sort of hand-me-down generational support or to go to. And so at first we weren't very close at all with Matt's kids, his 2 boys, and Dom with Reese. Because we really didn't know, we didn't have teach down to us how to connect. It wasn't even when they were young. How do we, you'd never ask, hey, can you I think you asked me one time to take care of Mason, and we had a pizza party, and we did everything that you said don't
I
do.
remember that.
Right?
Oh, I remember that.
And it was like, and that was my fun. I was like, this is how I'm going to be an uncle. But yeah, it wasn't pushed on you guys for there to be a relationship, and it wasn't necessarily pushed on us to have a relationship. And now I'm realizing that it is important. I do care. And it's not too late. There was a point in time where I was like, oh, it's too late. I've gone, they're above 10, like, and I missed this. So how would they feel connected to me now? Right. It would be like forced. And I got over that, and I'm still getting over it. There's a piece of you still, and part of me is I like sports, and they're getting into sports, and both Matt's kids and Dom's kid, Reese, Mason, Judd, they all do sports. I can relate more to that now that they're at a certain age where I couldn't really relate when I talk to kids like adults, I ask them what's going on with their day and what are they doing and what they're up to. But
you mean you're like our father? Yeah.
It's sort of a repetition of our father. And so as they get to a certain age, I can find myself more relatable. And it's not a good excuse for why I wasn't there earlier, but it makes me feel more comfortable. And I think the truth is, I think all of us opening up a little bit more makes it more comfortable. I think we had family, and it was tight. It was really tight. And then everyone sort of gets married and has their own family, and you and I are doing our thing, and it sort of gets a little further apart for each person. And I think through even doing the podcast and coming, we're actually starting to come closer and understand like how important family is to us. It was always important, but we would leave. I remember one year we went to Japan or Tokyo on the 23rd and landed on the 25th. We literally missed, or took off on the 24th, we missed Christmas.
Day. Yeah.
Christmas Day.
25th. Yeah.
And we're like, we'll never do that again. But for us, it was like, no, everyone's got their own thing going on. And I think what we've learned is actually it's nice to get everyone together again.
Yeah. And I think there's sometimes identity, right? Where you're like, well, I don't have the family, so I don't want to be surrounded by the family. And that might be subconscious. There's a ton of subconscious, right? I can sit here and tell you, I don't think I wanted to go to Reese's recitals or Mason's stuff because no one went to my stuff, right? Like you don't think about that, but you're like, well, she's spoiled. Why would I want to do that? I didn't get that. It doesn't come to your head, but that's what's pulling you. Seriously, I know it sounds crazy, but you're like, I didn't get that for me, so I'm not gonna give that to her. Yeah. And it's not like ugly. That sounds so ugly, but that's what's in the surface. What's outside is I got other things to do. Oh, really? You have something else to do at 6:00 on a Thursday that you can't spend an hour? Like that's bullshit, right? It's all bullshit. It's bullshit. That's what I would say. Like the reasons I haven't gone to her stuff, which we went for the first time. I went for the first time last night. Which I was very impressed with to a dance recital. It's getting out of your comfort zone. It's not giving excuses. It's actually also, there's compassion there. Deep wound of, we went to boarding school. Our parents didn't show up to games. That was across the country. I wasn't particularly great at sports, and so you hide it. You get safety from it, right? You don't want to be put in uncomfortable situations. And that's not to throw shade on our parents. I think we all know if they were sitting here right now, their parents didn't go to their sporting stuff. Yeah. They didn't support that.
I mean, the good part about that is I think I took from that, I'm the polar opposite, or at least I have been with Mason, right? Of like, I go to everything. Actually, I go to everything for both of them. Now, the younger one's a little bit different. He's not as into team sports. He loves fishing and shooting and whatever else, and you have to adjust. But the value I took from that from our parents is subconsciously, I didn't want to be like that, right? And again, we were halfway across the country or the world. I was in a different country. Like it wasn't easy for them to go, but I never wanted to miss any of my kids' events because my parents weren't there for a lot of them, and I valued that a ton.
I think there's something important though from an uncle standpoint, and you were hitting on it, which is a lot of times we get in our own way of why we don't go do things. And if you take it just down to its core from the kids' perspective, they just care that you're there. It's really just about presence, Matt. You kind of said it like that means more to them than anything. And even as uncles, you guys get to have a fun and special relationship. You don't have to be the parents. You can be the fun uncles and do that. And I get it for you guys of why it's hard, because no one showed you how to do that. No one showed you how to engage kids or what it is. But the kids don't care. They just care that you're there and you're having fun with them.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of the audience would resonate with not being a good uncle. Most people love that opportunity, or, you know, an aunt or whatever it may be. And, you know, we loved our cousins. I mean, we loved our cousins, our
Still
English
do.
cousins. We absolutely love them. We love their kids. There was a block. Like, let's just be honest. There's a block, right? We had a better relationship with our cousins' kids at one point than Matt's kids. I mean, we can say that out loud, than your daughter.
Yeah.
You know, because, and again, this is where we're being open. It's like, because it's unconscious, right? Like, there's a safety net there. There's something that doesn't feel safe, right? There's just something that you live 10 minutes apart from us. And I think what we're getting at is it's when you can let the guard down, because this is what we started off with, right? It's as Elliott just said. You've all said it. Okay, let's let the guard down as brothers, right? Which there's always going to be competition in brothers. That's only human too. What's Dom doing? What's Elliott doing? Doesn't mean it's like ugly, unhealthy competition. It's built-in competition, right? It is. It's only natural, right? I would imagine sisters are going to compete, right? And I say that step one is there's such small steps. The small steps is as simple as Matt said in the beginning, which was, let me be open. Let me just be open to a different thought process, or a different mind, something that wasn't shown to me, right? And again, we're human. So the propensity is like, let me take a step back first, fine. But then just movement forward, right? And that's breaking a pattern. That's breaking a lineage that we have. And we could be sad about it, or we can do what Elliott just said and say, you know what? I'm more. So we weren't great uncles for the first 10 years. Okay. That doesn't define you for the next 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
Not
And I don't
fair.
think you're bad uncles. You just weren't there.
Well, one might argue. Well, it's like, if you didn't take the test, did you fail it?
You don't want me to answer that question.
But I appreciate that, you know, you weren't bad because you weren't
So
present.
you really weren't a bad father. You
Missed
weren't there.
But it's not, if you don't have kids, it's not easy, right? Like, you can't beat yourself up too much because you don't have a frame of reference. And when they get to an age like Mason is now, where he can actually have a conversation with you at dinner and talk about sports or girls or going out drinking or whatever it might be, not that he ever does that, but right, like, at the end of the day, it makes it easier for you guys to open up to him at the same time.
Yeah. I'm going to switch gears a little bit, because I think what's interesting, and I think which would be just real for this conversation, is I don't think we've all ever sat in a room like this. I know we haven't. And if I said, Matt, individually and not too long, what do you think? You're 5 years older than Dom, 6 years older than Elliott and I. Hey, what was that like for you, where we were all close and, 18 months apart from each other? Did you feel disconnected from us?
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, the reality is I left home when I was 12 and you guys were, what, 7 and 6? So we didn't, and I was gone for 5 years. I'd come back on vacation, this, that, whatever, but we didn't have a relationship. Like, that was just the reality of it. And when we moved down here, we were probably a little bit closer because I kind of followed you guys here in a weird way to Dallas, right? But I got married shortly thereafter, right? And was in a unique situation in terms of control, relationship, whatever. But that kept us distant, right? And I think over the last 3 years since I got divorced, that dynamic's changed a lot. But yeah, I mean, I don't feel like we really had the quote unquote brother relationship. That wasn't a reality for us.
Yeah. And so did you see us as all kind of the same in that regard, or did you lean towards, Dom, did you want to grasp maybe at least one of us? I'm not saying I felt it. I'm just saying that I'm just saying, like, look, it's like everyone wants a brother, right? And it's like, we were mean to you. I sit here and say this, like, Matt would come home and it wasn't your typical brother relationship. Yeah. We didn't know how to be brothers with you. You know what I'm saying? We didn't know either. it was hard for us.
Yeah,
you know?
I don't place any blame on it. I think again, it was just the reality of the situation, right? And you start to break patterns from it, right? Like the bad example was, where were we at dinner like a few weeks ago, right?
Pizza place.
Yeah,
Doughbirds?
Doughbird, right? And jokingly, I gave you a hug, which is not something that I would ever do to anybody typically. Right. But that like was breaking a pattern and opened things up to like how we've talked the last few months. Right. And so, yeah, I mean, I think there was probably subconsciously a desire to have more of a family relationship, or what would be a traditional family relationship, whether it was with you guys, whether it was with our parents, etc. And we just didn't have that for a long time.
So,
But
one
it's funny
second.
Matt says that
Go
though,
ahead.
because it's so unique. Every one of our perspectives is different. I always looked up to Matt as an older brother. I was like, I got a cool older brother. He's off at boarding school. Now he's at college, and then he's coming to watch my games when he was at college, or my sporting events, or whatever it was, or he's a rugby player, or he's this. And it's like, Matt's home from vacation. My older brother's going to take me to the amusement park and drive us there. Or our parents are leaving me home alone with a 16-year-old older brother. We're going to get up to no good. But it was, for me, it's funny to hear you say you didn't have that, which I get it, because
Yeah.
younger brothers are 5 years younger. You don't want that. From my perspective, it was always, no, I've got a cool older brother that I look up to, that I want him to be proud of us, or
Yeah.
proud of me.
I think it's hard to see in yourself if you have a lack of self-confidence, which like transparently I do, right? I'm not uber confident. Like it's something I'm jealous of to an extent of all of you. Like you guys are way more outgoing. I am way more introverted, unless it's people I know really well, right? So it's hard to see that appreciation of what Dom's saying if you don't have self-confidence in yourself in the first place. Like I think that's really difficult.
I hear you. And two things. I want to go back to that. But first, I think you said something, and it's like you gave a hug, and there's meaning to something you just said. I would never do that.
Yeah.
What prompted a feeling of this feels right, or I want to do this, or I'm going to be.
I think it was probably, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, like seeing what you guys have all done, especially the two of you, and gone through in the last few years and changed, and opened up, and it hasn't hurt you, it's benefited you. I think you guys are both mentally in a way better place than you ever were. And so I guess in a weird way, it was my little way of trying to break out of my shell, or what I would normally do, to try and open myself up to that.
How did it feel?
Awkward.
That's
Right, let's be
real,
honest.
that's honest,
Like,
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
not something that I would typically, and it will, like, it will always probably feel awkward to me. I don't know that I'll ever change, but I think, does it feel a little bit more normal and not quite as weird? Yeah.
Love that. I love that. And I think that I don't know, awkward's a
I think it's
an
just nice to
introvert.
hear, right? And I think
That's why I smile. It's like,
I smile
but
because
now I won't let Matt out of my arms sometimes.
I'm so excited for that.
I was like, yeah, you coming in,
So
baby.
love it.
But Matt's right, because Dad now, ever since you guys started the podcast, Dad will now pound it. He won't say I love you, but he'll pound his chest, which is his version of saying I love you. But even for me, the first few times he did that, it was awkward. I wasn't comfortable or prepared to say it back, because I wasn't ready to do it, or what. So he was in a different place. And I think that's part of what Matt's getting at, is you have to be willing to get uncomfortable a little bit, and it be awkward before it becomes natural or comfortable.
Yeah, and I think, again, I would say this for the audience listening: awkward, uncomfortable. Ugh, it sounds awful, right? Family sounds awful.
Bro.
But give yourself and the family member time, right? Because this isn't one day, 1 week, 1 month. Matt said years, and that's not to be daunting. Sometimes people just want to listen, and they're listening. They're not ready to talk. They're just listening. And so that's also just part of it, is just to listen. I don't want to take the mic too much. So
It's your show.
I think it's fair. No, it's our show. I think, Dom, if there's something that you wanted to ask. No, I'm going to go switch gears again. Let's go from some holiday, because it's a holiday episode, and we're reaching the holidays, and we're going to be spending time together. Right off the bat, favorite holiday memory with the brothers.
Oh,
or the family?
so without question, it's kind of a melding of memories. But for me, the holidays, we were all together. So it was actually, it was fun. Like I remember the holidays as fun is because we were all together. So it was not actually Christmas Day. It was typically the night before Christmas where it was everybody get out of the house because mom was preparing for whatever was going on and you didn't want to be part of that stress. So it was always Chinese food with dad. And then it was come home and it was either watch Die Hard, which is a Christmas movie. I don't care what anyone
Great Christmas
says.
movie.
Or National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I think we could all quote every line from both of those movies. But those are, I just think back at that and I smile because I enjoyed it.
And that you've kind of created that with your family a little bit.
Yeah, I think, it's funny. Traditions, especially around the holidays, traditions are important. And I think you want to hold on to some and you want to create new ones with your own family as well. I didn't realize how important the traditions were to you and Elliott. And it kind of came out, which is we tried to do some new things and you're like, what do you mean? No, this is what we do. We do presents on Christmas morning. You cook a turkey every Christmas and you don't have a choice. That's what you're doing. And it was like, you guys held on to those traditions, but that made it more valuable and you learn about that. And there's ones you want to keep or ones you want to create going forward.
I love that. And that was kind of like, we don't want gifts. We want our bird.
Yeah.
And that's what we want.
We want our cranberry.
And then one by one presents that everyone opens, which that would take forever.
Yeah, but that was special to us because we didn't have a lot of presents from other people, right?
Yeah.
If we did it, we would have done it. Sorry, my throat.
Mhm.
But we would have done it so quickly, right? Christmas Day would have been, or Christmas morning would have been over so quickly. So it was like, no, you take the time and you watch what Dom got. You watch what Matt got, which might have been water skis or something for my father.
It's like, oh, this is exactly what I wanted.
That's what I knew. Santa Claus wasn't real
For Dad.
When water skis showed up in a closet.
He's like, hey, where's
Here's a
this? Is for
shotgun.
Santa. It's for me. Shotgun at 7 years old. Wrong
Yeah.
house.
But that's how that's what we laughed about because it was like, it was more we could see what everyone got and their reaction to what they also got.
Matt, was there something that was there something from childhood memories of Christmas that comes to mind?
Yeah, and it was funny because we had Thanksgiving, whatever it was, a couple weeks ago, and we were all sitting around the table, and everyone's like, "What's your favorite Thanksgiving memory?" And there really weren't many. Like it wasn't unique, but when we went to Christmas, we all kind of went back and it interacted a little bit with what Dom was saying on the Chinese food and everything else. But there's one picture that we have where the four of us are dressed up in, I think Elliott and I are in my dad's fur coats holding shotguns with cigars. You're in dad's like blue ski racing outfit.
Swedish.
And Dom's in dad's boat racing outfit. And we're standing outside in Arizona. Like, but that picture is like a memory of what Christmas really was. Like, and I think we all have that picture somewhere, but like you look and we all laugh and smile about it. But like, that was an awesome memory, right? Like that's probably what I remember the most.
Well, and I think what makes me smile about that is it just brings up play, right? I think for such of our childhood, we were conditioned to be a certain way, act a certain way. This is not a knock on family. It's going to boarding school and hitting the laws and doing certain things. And it's like, at some point, you just want to be a stupid 6-year-old or a 9-year-old. Even today, I see myself doing it sometimes.
I mean, our Christmases for people who weren't used to them, which go back to my prior family, it was like Festivus. Like it was literally like people don't know how to adjust or react, right? But that was us all being really just unencumbered by concerns about how we're being viewed or our personality or whatever. Like that was us just all being real and having fun. And it didn't happen a lot, but that would be the one time a year it typically happened.
Yeah,
But
it was
I
like
think
a
that's-
free pass to kind of just be to be a child.
Yeah, and even
Yeah.
poke fun at someone else. Or, I remember when you said Dom had 3 turkey necks when he smiled,
It was when he was drunk, but yeah.
He was drunk. Right, but
that was
again,
Christmas or that was.
but I'm just saying that we can laugh at that, right? We can poke fun, and it's a time where it's like, you got all of us around, so you can't take something too seriously. Because if you did, you'd have the other 2 brothers being like,
Yeah, not a chance.
"Come on, that's funny. You can't get mad if it's
so
funny."
true.
That's too funny.
But I also think that's why we all enjoyed the holidays is because it was fun. It was a chance
Yeah.
to be a child. It was a chance to there was no guard.
Yeah.
E, what does Christmas mean to you differently than what it might have meant a couple years ago? Just now, like, because Matt said family and all that stuff, and Dom said family, and not that I haven't said family, but I'm just saying, like, what does it mean to you a little bit more when I don't want to say Christmas, but holidays?
Yeah, I think, sorry. I think the holidays used to be where for a while, it was traditions. It was all our traditions as the four of us and our mom and dad, we would do what we did. Then they had kids and those traditions changed, right? Which took us getting used to that change of, oh, we're not going to do this. It's not exactly how we used to do everything else. We've added in-laws. We've added things where we have to be a little bit more or less casual instead of just us being our family, which is everything going left, right, and we keep up, but no one else can understand what's going on. And I think for me, at least, instead of adapting to that, it was, let me get out of the way, right? Let's go on a trip. We literally, I remember you and I said, let's try and be in a different time zone every year, whether it's for New Year's, right? Or, hey, at Thanksgiving, we can go to London and shoot up there. And it was, these are our families, so we don't need to be present. And I think that was a detachment. I think obviously that was rooted in different things. And it wasn't done out of malice. It was just done out of, hey, you guys have your things going on. We don't want to intrude either. And now it's different. I think going through what I've gone through in the last couple of years and just transformation is how important family is. And we have great parents. We've had great times growing up. We've had so much luxuries afforded to us. But it was in different ways that we saw it. Like Dom said, we would come home all for vacation. That's the only time we were all together. Or we go on a ski trip with our parents in spring break. That was all the time we'd be together. And then it dissolved as we all lived our own lives. And then you realize what's important. I think you get back to realizing the most important thing in your life is good friends and good family. There's nothing else. I had success in other areas of my life. Great success. And everyone said, how successful? You're so successful. And it's funny because success was defined as, how are you doing in business? How do you perceive yourself to others? Are you at the top places? Does this person know you? Have you done this real estate deal, right? And it's like, as crazy as it sounds, when I was at the top of it, I felt the most lonely. I felt the most disconnected. Had material items and things like that, and yet it didn't fill my cup. It didn't fill my cup at all. And it just shows that I was running to this spot where I'd been told my whole life this is a spot to get to, and I'm running with super laser focus. And this wasn't the spot to go. The spot was actually over here. And so that's the transformation of changing it. But it's also knowing, like, yeah, what we all have been through together is such bonding. We didn't talk about it. I know after talking more and more over the last 2 years, and really over the last years, we kept it a lot internal. What Dom just said to Matt in terms of him looking up to him as an older brother and wanting to do that was never discussed by Dom. I don't know if Matt's even ever heard that, right?
I don't think, I probably have never said that.
And we've gotten into where we're like, I remember I was talking to Alex and I was like, the more I thought of it, I said, you know who really had it tough was Matt.
Yeah.
You remember telling you, like, we've gone into what we have, but man, Matt is the first child and being sent to Lycée Français for French school at age 7 when he doesn't have to speak a lick of French, and then going, to doing all these things. Matt was the first runaround, right? And he was 6 years older, so it wasn't the connection we had, right? But we are now breaking down like, oh, this is what we used to just say boarding school is great, right? We all used to, I'd send my kids to boarding school, right? And now we talk about, here's what was good about it. Here's what wasn't. Here's what we like. Here's what struggles were. We're breaking down that. And leading back to the question of Christmas now, we're having, I don't want to say always deeper conversations, more direct, more real conversations, right? And it's fun because it's like, these are things we should have done to begin with. These are walls that we all put up for each other. Maybe you and I had less walls, but we had walls of how we interacted with each other.
I agree. And what you're saying is a certain identity that I certainly played too. It was like, all right, I don't have the family. I'll show you where I can go. I can go to South Africa. I'll go to Tokyo for 3 days. I'll do that because it was competition. I might not have the family, but you don't have my freedom. Right.
Yeah.
That's competition. It's like the most
Interesting.
obvious of the obvious, right? Oh, I don't have a family. Let's go travel, right? And it's a safety net. It's to say, well, look what I have that you don't have, right? And it's not like ugly. It's the truth. It's I feel insecure in this place. I'll numb it here. I mean, it's right. I mean, it's pretty obvious, and it's at what detriment? We still had a lot of fun, right? And look, you can still do that. It's not as if that's gonna hurt you, but it's almost what Elliott said. It has to be, is that who you really are, right? And I think if the disconnect for Elliott and for myself, which we've both gone through in the last couple of years, which is, no, we want to do it for ourselves, right? And I think what I was trying to do, because I don't want to talk for you in that regard with the holidays and while it changes, is like, well, this makes me different, right? And so, you get caught up in the, where are you, Alex? Dubai? Where are you? Where are you skiing? Where are you? And you get fed into that. That's what society wants you to do, right? Society's like, well, if I'm not happy, let me look at someone else and say, what are you doing that's so great, right? And it's kind of weird because it's propping you up and it's encouraging you, right? And it's encouraging you. And so it's easy to get into that. And when it comes back to it, that's all great but when you need the support, that's where you lean on the family, right? And I think there's a lot of excitement for us four sitting around this seat right now because it doesn't have to be deep. We can joke with each other. We can laugh with each other. We can also want to punch each other. We can do all of that because that's human. That's still brothers. I don't care if you're 8 years old, 28, 40, whatever. But it's a little bit more of an understanding. It's a little bit more of, I can look in your eyes and I can be like, yeah, I see it,
I also think you have to have the experiences you guys had to come back and realize, this is what I do value. Had you not had those experiences, you might not come back and say, I value this. And, there was a Christmas I spent working in London. I didn't think I would miss it. I didn't think it'd be bad. I didn't realize how much I actually valued family until I was working on a Christmas day and watching everyone else have their families together. And I'm like, oh man, I miss my family right now. I miss my traditions. And yours is different, right? I never knew it was kind of competition or I have freedom, which makes a ton of sense. But I think had you not had that experience, I don't know if you come back to value.
I think Matt hit on it a little bit too. When you're in boarding school, you're taught to be independent and you don't need to have your family, right? Like you're like, no, I don't need to call mom and dad if this happens or this. It's really put in front of you of, hey, you can do all this by yourself. I don't need to come home for Christmas or Thanksgiving.
Being soft. If you were soft, you were weak.
You were peaked.
If you needed mommy, you were weak, right? It sounded like you were going to say something.
No, I was just, look, part of it, I was kind of thinking back what Elliott said of, it was about possessions and kind of opening up to other things. And there's a really good country song, and I can't remember who the hell sings it. And it really resonated with me after I got divorced. But it was, at the end of the day, how many people show up at your funeral, right? And that's the relationships that you have. And I think you want family to be there, but not just because they're family, because they actually cared. Like you actually had a relationship with them, right? And I think a lot of that growth too is transitioning from, you guys might have flown to Dubai or this or that. And that was a little bit materialistic, but I think now the perspective is you want to go travel to Bali or this or that. It's more about the experience than it is the possession. And I think they both kind of interact a little bit of that's that growth that you've now gotten into where the relationships are that much more valuable. It's not about the possessions. It's not about, I flew here because it's showy. It's more, it's an experience or it's driving a relationship at the end of the day.
It's really good that you said that, the intent, right? So you're just saying the intent. The intent has changed. The purpose has changed. And, I got excited when Matt loved Bali and I'm like, ooh, maybe I go figure this out so that we can hang out together as opposed to anything else. So your intent says, okay, who can I include that would love and appreciate that? And that's not tied to just family. Some people don't have a lot of family. That's friends, right? Like let's share an experience. If I love an experience, my first thought is, who can I share this with?
Well, you did it this week. The World Cup's coming, right? Yeah. And immediately you're like, oh, my friends who I talk soccer with for years, let's bring everyone back together. Let's bring it to the English family. How do we share that experience together?
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Because it's me, it's just my style. And going in the new year, what's one thing in the holidays or whatever it may be, but if it's one thing where you're like, all right, I'm going to get a little bit more vulnerable with myself because we're all in a podcast here. We're all going to be surrounded by family again. And it doesn't have to be around the holidays, but it's like, look, this podcast is intended to challenge. It's intended to put you in a place where you're breaking patterns. Like, I don't think we want to hide from that anymore. We're learning what we are, right? And that's what we are. And it can be in the best of ways and the hardest of ways. But what's something that, if we came back a year from now and we said round 2 of Perry Brother holiday special, you'd be like, yeah, I kind of thought more on that.
I mean, for me, it's being more engaged with the family in casual moments, right? And I've always been, again, I'm much more introverted. Like, I don't like going out or being around or this or that, whatever. And I'm comfortable being on my own. But I think I'm starting to get better about that, but there's still a lot of growth and a lot of runway there. And so for me, it's just being more engaged with what's going on day to day with any of your lives, and authentically caring about it, right? Not just asking to ask and because that's satisfying a need, but it's more like authentically getting invested in it. That would be, from a growth perspective, what I would want.
Love that.
Yeah, I think for me, the irony is I'll give 2 answers. One is you two are already doing something that honestly was hurtful for me, which was you guys didn't have a relationship with Reese. And I couldn't understand it for the longest time. And it bothered me. It really hurt me. And now you both are starting to have that, and I really appreciate it. But there were times where Lane would be like, what's wrong with your brothers? Or what's wrong with your family? Like, can't they just be nice for 2 seconds? And it was like, great, here we go again. How do I answer that? And I think that has shifted as a result of what you've done here. So that's already in play and happening. That would have been my answer a year ago. So I'm proud to see that kind of coming to fruition. I think the bigger one for me would be, we're a pretty open family, but we've done a masterful job of sweeping things under the rugs when we need to, or under the rug when we need to. And Matt and I have been through a lot in the past, probably 5 years or 6 years, from our relationship to starting a business together to the evolution of what that is. And I don't want that to impact what the potential is going forward. And I think there's probably scars on both sides from that, but I think time heals that. And I think there's a genuine effort not to let that be something that has an impact on both our sides later on. And so for me, I think a year from now sitting here, I don't want to feel the same way I have for the last 2 years or 3 years. I want that to evolve.
Love that.
I think just getting more connected with everyone. I think we mentioned it earlier in the show of competition. From the second we were all born, it was competition. Whether we wanted it or not, people said, who's better? There's 4 boys. Who's better at this? Who's better at math? Who's better at rugby? Who's better at football, right? Who's better at anything? Who's a better socializer? It was always put to us to compete, right? And not necessarily by our parents, by other people. They didn't know how to talk to us. So the first thing would be, how do I gauge? How do I know what you're interested in, or things like that? I think it conditioned us so much, even as we got to our business careers, right? It was, okay, Alex is doing this in real estate. Matt's doing this with international foods and drinks, and Dom's rising so far up at Brinker, right? And whatever I was doing. And we would talk to each other in a business setting, right? We would almost be like, Matt, how are you doing? How's business, right? It was so high level. I think breaking those walls down further to be like, hey, let's just talk and open dialogue. Like, you can say, I'm having an awful day. You can say, I'm having a great day. I couldn't be more excited about this. We didn't have those I'd love to tell you we had those conversations. We were all close, but we were all guarded close. We had each other's backs always, but we were never like, hey, right, Matt, you come to me and tell me about your bad day, and you'd be like, yeah, it was shitty. Yeah. Right? Like, you're not going to go more into...
It was very surface.
Very surface for all of us. It was even somewhat surface for you and I doing it. And we were closer, And so I think just getting into that mode where we all feel comfortable, just getting into... I don't want to say emotions, because I don't think that's ever going to be like we're spewing emotions, but just real and open.
Yeah, and I think in time you have to create that space, that container to do it, right? It's not realistic for anyone to say, okay, we're going to go, brothers or sisters listening and say, okay, all of a sudden let's snap the fingers and do it. Just, it doesn't happen. That's what I'm learning. And so it's funny as I say that, my learning is, and what I'd say for all y'all, for me, the answering my question is to actually slow down and give everyone space in this room, because I said it earlier, my propensity is to say, look, guys, I found something out and we can all go to the moon together. And it's like everyone's timing is different. And everyone's emotions, everyone's traumas is different. Everyone's just the way they do it. And I've got this mindset that it's like, I figured it out, it's my way, and we're gonna go do it this way. And if you don't like it, then you're wrong. And that sounds so awful, but it's that like, ooh, I'm so excited for you guys that we can go deeper, or we can do this, but that's mine. And so you also might not want to go deep one day. You want to talk about stupid shit. And so for me, it's a year of saying, look, we had some dinners that meant fucking nothing, excuse my language. And we had some dinners and some trips that were great. We had some meetings, and there were days where you didn't want to talk about it, and there were days where, and so I'm excited to say, okay, let's see a year from now how everyone's taking their own path, but with the support of everyone else. And I think that will be super cool.
Is there a funny memory or moment? Like, it was pretty deep and serious. There's some funny shit that happened.
I have got a funny moment that I would never, I will never forget. I remember we were downstairs in our house in LA.
Oh,
and
this was Christmas.
Someone, I don't know who it was, but was just egging Elliott and I on to like who's the stronger, who whatever's going on. And Elliott and I took it upon ourselves. This was when WrestleMania was huge.
Yeah. And Dom was much stronger than us.
Much stronger than us.
I was stronger. But...
And what we did is we one of us pinned his arm down. Someone pinned his arm down, and they jumped off the table from the top ropes, just took a knee right in the balls.
Well, groin, you could have said, but
excuse me,
yes.
Groin. And I just remember Dom running off crying like a little, like just crying. And that was so un-Dom, because Dom was the feisty guy who would never let any of us do anything. He would slap us around, and I just remember we got him. Remember we got him.
We didn't feel bad.
No,
it was not fair. It was not fair whatsoever, and we didn't feel bad.
No, and I remember
honest?
this to the day.
It's 38 years later, and that still haunts me every Christmas, and I get reminded of it every Christmas as well.
So mean. That's funny. I mean, the other funny things is it's like, oh God, as kids, you don't know. You're so mean to your brothers. I remember running down the stairs and, yelling names at you.
You would sing Matt the big fat Matt. I didn't say that. But you would do that.
That's not true. We were all guilty by.
And look,
to be honest,
I mean,
you weren't fat. You were obese for a kid. You know. You
I look like the kid from Goonies. Yeah, I look like Chunk.
You like grilled cheese, all right? Come on, give yourself a break.
I ate pizza for 3 years.
And it's you can't go back a day, but you can laugh about it, and hopefully, you're just more aware, because that's bullying, and so I guess with other kids, you're like, shit, man, let's not do this anymore. Let's if we see it, let's stop that, right? But you know what? At the same time, boys will be boys, families will be families, and it does make you stronger. At the end of the day, it makes you stronger. And
I don't know. I'm still in pain from from the table jump, but
I'll give us credit. They're displaced families where brothers don't talk and families don't talk, and so mom and dad are not here. But I would say one thing they've done right.
Done a lot of things
They've done a lot of things right.
But you know what? They do have 4 boys who live in the same city, who do get along, who do respect and appreciate their parents, and
each other,
and as Elliott said, would have each other's backs at the drop of a hat. So that you cannot put a price on, and so that's special. And we all walked into this house, and we're all going to walk out of this house. And that's also special. Honestly, it feels good. We could talk all night, but we're not going to. We donate to a charity of choice.
I usually donate to the Basset Hounds of America, or for mental wellness, but I'll let
St. Jude's.
I'll let Matt be in its first episode.
And Matt,
I mean, honestly, it would be any animal rescue society.
Well, that falls
Whichever
under
one
Basset
it is.
Hound Rescue Society.
Well, no.
I mean, I have a boxer in a lab, but
We're gonna do
Like-
one for each one. We won't do the full amount for each one. We'll divvy it up. And I just want to say it's special. Like, this is special. There's not words. There's just appreciation and love.
Love you.
Of
Love you
everybody.
Love. Hug Matt. Hug.
Give him a hug, Matt.
No, we're in microphones. We can't do that right now.
There's an air hug. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Alex Perry on Fire. It means so much to me and the wonderful team that makes this all possible. I'm now passing the flame to you. Please follow, like, and subscribe so you can always stay up to date. Thanks again, and stay fired up.